The stars looked different this far from home. Commander Taman stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the empty space ahead. His fleet of 47 ships moved through the darkness like sharks hunting prey. They had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this place. Gateway Station Alpha 7 floated in the distance. It was a massive structure, bigger than most cities. The station controlled the jump gate, a device that could open passages to 12 different human colony worlds. If the Valthrak Empire controlled this gate, they would control access to millions of human lives. "Commander, we're approaching the station now," Captain Jisoo said from her position at the tactical console. She was young for her rank, but sharp. Taman trusted her judgment. "What do our sensors show?" Taman asked. Jisoo frowned at her screens. "Almost nothing, sir. The station has minimal power. Life support is running in only a few sections. It looks abandoned, just like intelligence predicted." Taman nodded. The humans had evacuated this sector 2 weeks ago, when they learned the Valthrak fleet was coming. It made sense. They couldn't defend this position, so they ran. "Smart choice. Cowardly but smart. Any defense systems active?" he asked. "Negative, sir. The automated weapons platforms are powered down. The shield generators are offline. It's like they left the door wide open for us." Jisoo smiled. "This will be easier than we thought." Something bothered Taman about this. The humans were not fools. They knew how important the station was. Would they really just abandon it without a fight? He had fought humans before. They were stubborn creatures, sometimes stupidly so. "Hold position," Taman ordered. "Send reconnaissance drones forward. I want a full scan before we move in." "Sir, that seems unnecessary," Jisoo said carefully. "The station is clearly—" "I gave an order, Captain." Jisoo's expression tightened, but she obeyed. "Yes, sir. Launching drones now." 5 small drones shot forward from the flagship. They moved fast, their sensors sweeping the station as they approached. Taman watched their feeds on the main display. Empty corridors, dark rooms, disabled systems. Everything confirmed the station was abandoned. The lead drone moved closer to the docking bay. Its camera showed the massive doors, closed and locked. It began scanning for a way inside. Then the drone exploded. "What happened?" Taman demanded. Jisoo's fingers flew across her console. The drone was hit by weapons fire. Old human kinetic weapons probably mounted on the defense platforms we thought were offline. But you said they were powered down. They were. Someone must have activated them manually. Jisoo looked confused and worried. "Sir, the other drones are under fire too." On the display, Taman watched as the remaining drones tried to evade. Whoever was shooting at them knew exactly what they were doing. The shots were precise, calculated. One by one, the drones were destroyed. The last one managed to send back data before it died. "Analysis," Taman ordered. "Sir, the shots came from 3 different defense platforms, but they were fired in sequence, not simultaneously. I think—" Jisoo paused, checking her data again. "I think there's only one person operating all 3 platforms." "One person?" Taman felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you certain?" "The station's life support confirms it. 1 active life sign, human, located in the central command center." The bridge fell silent. Every officer was thinking the same thing. 1 human remained on the station. 1 person stood between the entire Valthrak fleet and control of the gate. "This is absurd," the weapons officer muttered. 1 soldier against our entire fleet?" But Taman wasn't laughing. He had seen enough combat to know that sometimes the most dangerous enemies were the ones with nothing to lose. He studied the station on the screen, trying to understand what he was facing. "Scan the human life sign," he ordered. "I want to know who we're dealing with." Jisoo worked quickly. "Male, middle-aged by human standards. Elevated heart rate, but steady. He's in the command center and—" "Sir, he's moving around?" "Activating different systems. He knows we're here." "Open a communication channel," Taman said. "Let me speak to him." The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Taman took a breath. "Human soldier, this is Commander Taman of the Valthrak Imperial Fleet. Identify yourself." Static filled the bridge for a moment. Then a voice came through, rough and tired but firm. "Corporal Hyun, United Earth Marine Corps, currently assigned to Gateway Station Alpha 7. "Corporal Hyun," Taman said carefully, "you must realize your situation. You are alone. My fleet numbers 47 warships. Your station is not fully operational. Surrender now and I promise you will not be harmed." Another pause. Then Hyun spoke again, and there was something in his voice that made Taemin's skin prickle. Not fear, not anger. Just cold certainty. Negative, Commander. This gate is closed. Turn your ships around and go home. Several officers on the bridge laughed. Even Jisoo smiled slightly. The idea that one man could order an entire fleet to retreat was ridiculous. But Taemin didn't laugh. He had heard that tone before in other soldiers in other battles. It was the voice of someone who had already made peace with death. Corporal, be reasonable. You cannot win this fight. Don't need to win, Hyun replied. Just need to hold this gate until help arrives. And I will. How long do you think you can last against us? Long enough. Taemin felt his respect for this human growing despite himself. You are brave, Corporal. But bravery alone will not save you. I am giving you one final chance to surrender. And I'm giving you one final chance to leave. This is my post. I won't abandon it. Not for you, not for anyone. The channel went silent. Taemin waited, but the human said nothing more. Sir? Jisoo looked at him expectantly. What are your orders? Taemin stared at the station. Somewhere in that massive structure, one human soldier sat alone, preparing to fight an entire fleet. It was madness. It was suicide. It was also, in its own strange way, admirable, but admiration would not help them take the gate. Prepare a strike force, Taemin ordered. 3 frigates. Have them approach from different angles. Disable the defense platforms and test the humans' defenses. Do not destroy the station. We need the gate intact. Yes, sir. The 3 frigates broke away from the main fleet, moving toward the station in a triangular formation. They were sleek, powerful ships, each carrying enough firepower to level a city. Taemin watched them approach. He expected the human to fire, to make some futile gesture of resistance, but the defense platforms remained silent. The station seemed to be waiting. The frigates moved closer. Closer. They were almost at firing range. Then everything happened at once. The station's emergency power systems roared to life. Defense platforms that had been dark suddenly blazed with energy. The frigates, expecting an easy approach, were caught completely off guard. Hyun fired. The first frigate took a direct hit to its engine section. It didn't explode, but it tumbled away, trailing atmosphere and debris. The second frigate tried to return fire, but the station's shields, supposedly offline, suddenly activated around the vulnerable sections. The frigate's shots splashed harmlessly against the barrier. The third frigate got smart and tried to retreat. But Hyun had anticipated that too. He fired not at the ship itself, but at its flight path. The frigate had to veer sharply to avoid the incoming fire, and in doing so, it exposed its weaker top armor. Hyun's next shot struck true, crippling the ship's maneuvering thrusters. 2 frigates disabled, 1 retreating. All in less than 3 minutes, the bridge of Taemin's flagship was completely silent. Get those frigates back here, Taemin said quietly. Now. As the damaged ships limped back to the fleet, Taemin stared at the station with new understanding. This human, this Corporal Hyun, knew every system on that station. Every weapon, every sensor, every trick and trap. He had turned the entire structure into his personal fortress. This was not going to be easy. Sir, Jisoo said softly. What do we do now? Taemin didn't answer right away. He was calculating, planning, trying to think like the human. What would make someone stay behind alone? What would give them the strength to face certain death? We find out what we're really up against, he finally said. And then we take that station, whatever it costs. In the command center of Gateway Station Alpha 7, Corporal Hyun sat back in his chair. His hands were shaking slightly from adrenaline, but his eyes were steady. Around him, the displays showed the alien fleet holding position. He had bought himself some time. Not much, but some. He looked at the photos on the console. The previous crew had left them behind in their hurry to evacuate. Families, children, people who were counting on him to keep this gate closed until they were safe. Hyun picked up a ration bar and took a bite. It tasted like cardboard, but he ate it anyway. He would need his strength. The aliens would come again soon. And this time they would come in force, but that was fine. He had made a promise. He would keep this gate closed or he would die trying. Commander Taemin did not sleep that night. He stood in his private quarters, staring at the data his crew had collected on the human defending the station. It was not much. Just a name, a rank, and a record that showed Corporal Hyun had been stationed at Gateway Alpha 7 for 3 years. 3 years. The human knew that station better than anyone. Every corridor, every system, every possible advantage. That made him dangerous. A message alert blinked on Taman's console. Admiral Korath, the supreme commander of the invasion force, wanted a report. Taman grimaced. This conversation would not be pleasant. He opened the channel. Admiral Korath's face appeared on the screen. The admiral was old, scarred from many battles, and had no patience for failure. Commander Taman. Korath's voice was cold. I was told you would secure the gateway station within hours. It has been a full day. Explain. Sir, the situation is more complex than anticipated. The station is defended by one human soldier. Yes, I read the reports. Korath's eyes narrowed. Are you telling me that one human is stopping an entire fleet? He knows the station intimately, sir. He has turned it into a fortress. Our initial probing attack failed. Then stop probing and attack properly. Korath's voice rose. I do not care if he knows every bolt in that station. You have 47 ships. Use them. Sir, the gateway must remain intact. If we simply bombard the station, I know the mission parameters, Commander. You have 48 hours to take that station. If you fail, I will send someone who can succeed. Am I clear? Yes, sir. The channel closed. Taman stood in silence for a moment, then returned to the bridge. Captain Jisoo was waiting for him. Sir, we have been monitoring the human's communications, she said. He has been trying to contact the Earth fleet, but the distance is too great. His messages are not getting through, so he is truly alone. Yes, sir. And there is something else. We managed to access some of the station's historical logs. Corporal Hyun volunteered to stay behind. The other crew members were evacuated, but he asked to remain as a rear guard. Taman felt a strange respect for the human growing in his chest. He chose this. It appears so, sir. Lieutenant Mira, the communications specialist, approached. She was holding a data tablet. Commander, I found something you should see. It was in the public records. About Corporal Hyun, Taman took the tablet. It showed a news report from 2 years ago. A Valthrak raid on a human colony. Hundreds killed. Among the dead were listed Hyun's wife and daughter. The pieces fell into place. This was not just duty for the human. This was personal. He lost his family to us, Taman said quietly. Yes, sir, Mira replied. And now he is protecting other families. The evacuees from this sector included many children. Taman handed back the tablet. Understanding the enemy did not make the mission easier, but it helped to know what drove them. Hyun was not fighting because he thought he could win. He was fighting because he had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. Captain Jisoo, I want to try speaking with him again. Sir, open a channel to the station. The communication officer worked quickly. Channel open, Commander. Corporal Hyun, this is Commander Taman again. I would like to talk. For a long moment there was only static. Then Hyun's voice came through, sounding tired but alert. Talk fast, Commander. I am busy. Busy with what? You are alone on that station. Busy making sure you do not take it. Taman chose his next words carefully. Corporal, I have learned about your past. About your family, I am sorry for your loss. Your people killed them, Hyun said flatly. Your sorrow means nothing, perhaps. But I want you to understand something. I am a soldier like you. I follow orders. This is not personal for me. It is personal for me. Hyun's voice was hard as steel. Every ship in your fleet is personal. Every soldier you send is personal. You want this gate? You will pay for it in blood. You know you cannot hold forever. I do not need forever. Just long enough. Long enough for what? Your reinforcements are days away. You will be dead long before they arrive. There was a pause. When Hyun spoke again, his voice was quieter. Then I will be dead. But this gate will be closed. The people who evacuated through here will be safe. That is all that matters. Taman felt something he rarely felt in combat, genuine sadness. This human was going to die defending a position that could not be held, protecting people who would never know his name. It was noble. It was also tragic. I will give you one more chance to surrender, Corporal. Not because I think you will accept, but because I must try. Surrender now. I swear on my honor you will be treated fairly. Retreat was not an option when I took this post, Hyun said. It still is not an option. Come if you are coming, Commander. I will be waiting. The channel closed. Jisoo looked at Taman. He will not surrender, sir. No, he will not. Taman turned to his crew. Prepare the assault teams. We go in with everything we have. The next attack came from all sides. 12 warships moved toward the station simultaneously, firing on the defense platforms while smaller assault craft launched toward the docking bays. It was overwhelming force, designed to split Hyun's attention and resources. But Hyun had been preparing for this. The defense platforms that had been silent suddenly came alive, but not the ones the Valthrek expected. Hyun had been moving through the station, manually activating different systems in a pattern the enemy could not predict. When the Valthrek fired on one platform, another opened fire from a completely different angle. The assault craft reached the docking bays and tried to force the doors open. Hyun depressurized entire sections of the station, creating a deadly vacuum that sucked two of the craft into the walls. The others managed to attach and begin cutting through, but it was slow work. Inside the station, Hyun was running. He had a plan, but it required perfect timing. He reached a maintenance corridor and pulled out a small device. It was a manual override for the station's internal gravity systems. When the first Valthrak soldiers finally breached the docking bay, they found themselves in zero gravity. They floated, disoriented, trying to adjust. That was when Hyun activated the defense turrets he had secretly programmed earlier. The turrets opened fire. In zero gravity, the Valthrak soldiers could not dodge or take cover. Half of them were killed in seconds. The survivors retreated back to their craft. On the bridge of his flagship, Taemin watched his assault fail. Again. How? One of his officers demanded. How is one man doing this? Taemin knew the answer. Hyun was not just defending the station. He had become part of it. Every system, every weapon, every possible trap was an extension of his will. The station was his body, and he wielded it like a weapon. Pull back, Taemin ordered. Regroup and reassess. As the Valthrak forces withdrew, Taemin made a decision. He would speak with his tactical officers and come up with a new plan. But in the back of his mind, he wondered if this station could be taken at all. In the command center, Hyun collapsed into a chair. His entire body ached. He had been awake for 36 hours straight, running from one end of the station to the other, activating systems, setting traps, fighting a battle that should have been impossible. He looked at the displays. The alien fleet was holding position again. They would come again soon. Each attack would be stronger, smarter, harder to stop. Hyun knew he was running out of time and options. The station's power reserves were depleting. Some of the defense platforms had taken damage and could not be repaired. He was one person trying to do the work of 100, but he had made a promise. He pulled up a file on his console. It was a message he had recorded a week ago before the evacuation. He had addressed it to the families who had fled through this gate, especially the children. He told them not to be afraid, that someone was watching over the gate, keeping it safe until they reached their new homes. He had never sent the message. It felt too much like a goodbye. Hyun ate another ration bar and drank some water. He checked his weapon, a simple rifle he kept nearby. He hoped he would not need it, but he was a soldier. He knew how these things ended. Outside, the stars looked cold and distant. Inside, the station hummed with minimal power, waiting for the next attack. Hyun closed his eyes for just a moment, allowing himself 10 seconds of rest. Then he stood up and returned to his console. The displays showed the enemy fleet still watching, still waiting. Come on then, he muttered to the empty command center. I am still here. On the Valthrak flagship, Captain Jisoo was reviewing tactical data when she noticed something odd. She brought it to Taemin immediately. Sir, the human is not sleeping. Our sensors show he has been active for over 36 hours continuously. Impressive, Taemin admitted. Also foolish. He will collapse from exhaustion soon. Perhaps we should simply wait him out. Taemin considered this. Admiral Korath gave us 48 hours. We cannot afford to wait. Besides, if we delay too long, human reinforcements may arrive. Then what do we do, sir? Taemin looked at the station on the display. Somewhere in there, a tired, grieving man was preparing to die defending people he would never see again. It was madness. It was also something Taemin could not help but respect. We find another way in, Taemin said. And we end this one way or another. Captain Doyen checked his armor one last time. He was a veteran of many battles and he knew how to read situations. This one felt wrong from the start. One human should not be able to hold an entire station against a fleet, yet that was exactly what was happening. Around him, his assault team prepared their weapons and equipment. They were the best boarding specialists in the Valthrak military. If anyone could take the station, it would be them. Captain Doyen, Commander Taman's voice came through his helmet comm. Your objectives are clear. Reach the central reactor and force a shutdown. Without power, the human cannot operate the station's defenses. Understood, sir, Doyen replied. We will not fail. The human has proven resourceful. Do not underestimate him. One man cannot be everywhere at once, Commander. We will find a way through. Doyen signaled his team. 50 soldiers, all highly trained, all ready. They boarded their assault craft and launched toward the station. This time they were not targeting the main docking bays. Specialist Nari, their combat engineer, had found a maintenance airlock on the station's lower section. It was a small entrance, less defended, perfect for their needs. The assault craft attached to the airlock. Nari went to work immediately, her tools cutting through the outer door. It took 15 minutes, but finally they were through. We are inside, Doyen reported, proceeding to the reactor. The maintenance corridor was narrow and dark. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows. Doyen's team moved carefully, weapons ready. Every corner could hide a trap. Every door could be a death sentence. They had gone barely 50 meters when the first trap triggered. The floor beneath 2 soldiers suddenly opened, and they fell into a shaft. Their screams cut off abruptly. Hold position, Doyen ordered. Nari, scan for more traps. Nari pulled out her scanner. Sir, the entire corridor ahead is rigged. Pressure plates, motion sensors, even heat detectors. It is like walking through a minefield. Can you disable them? Given time, yes. But it will be slow. We do not have time. Find another route. They backtracked and found a ventilation shaft. It was barely large enough for 1 soldier at a time, but it led toward the reactor level. Doyen sent his team through in single file. Inside the ventilation system, the air was stale and hot. Doyen crawled forward, his bulky armor scraping against the metal walls. Behind him, his team followed in silence. Then the ventilation system activated. Superheated air blasted through the shaft. 3 soldiers at the rear were cooked alive in their armor before they could retreat. The rest scrambled forward, desperate to escape the heat. Doyen kicked open a vent panel and tumbled into a corridor. His team followed, coughing and burned but alive. They had lost 5 soldiers, and they had not even seen the enemy yet. Sir, the human knew we would use the ventilation shaft, one soldier said. He knows everything about this station. Doyen replied grimly, but he is still just one man. Keep moving. They advanced through the station, and every step was a battle. Doors locked in their faces. Bulkheads slammed shut, separating the team. Defense turrets appeared from hidden panels and opened fire before disappearing again. Doyen realized the human was not trying to kill them all at once. He was bleeding them slowly, taking soldiers one by one, making every meter forward cost blood. In the command center, Hyun watched the enemy's progress on his displays. He could see them moving through the station, trying to reach the reactor. He had known they would try this eventually. It was the smart move. But Hyun had spent 3 years learning every trick this station could perform. He had prepared for every possible approach. He touched a control in a section of the corridor ahead of the Valthrak team depressurized. The soldiers were thrown against the walls as air rushed out. 2 of them were sucked into space before the emergency bulkhead sealed. Hyun felt nothing as he watched this. These soldiers were trying to take the gate, trying to open it for their fleet. He could not allow that. He stood up from his console and grabbed his rifle. The enemy was getting closer to the reactor. He needed to slow them down more directly now. It was time to move. Hyun ran through the corridors he knew by heart. His legs burned with fatigue and his head pounded from lack of sleep. He had been awake for 48 hours now. His body was running on pure determination. He reached an intersection and set up a position behind some cargo containers. From here, he could see the corridor the Valthrak would have to use. He checked his rifle. 20 rounds left. He had to make them count. Captain Doyen's team finally reached the intersection. They had started with 50 soldiers. Now they were down to 30. The station had taken a terrible toll, and they still had not reached the reactor. Sir, we are close, Nari said, checking her map. The reactor is just 2 levels down. Then gunfire erupted from down the corridor. 2 soldiers fell immediately. The rest scattered for cover, returning fire. The human, someone shouted. He is here. Doyen spotted movement behind some containers. He aimed and fired, but the human was already gone, moving to a new position. More shots came from a different angle. Another soldier fell. Flank him, Doyen ordered. Team 2 go around through that side corridor. But when Team 2 entered the side corridor, they found it blocked by a sealed door. By the time they cut through, the human had moved again. Hyun was running, breathing hard, leading the soldiers away from the reactor. He needed to buy more time. Just a little more time. Help was coming. He had received a signal an hour ago. The Earth fleet had picked up his distress beacon. They were still 8 hours away, but they were coming. 8 hours. He just had to hold for 8 more hours. He ducked into a storage room and waited. The Valthrak soldiers would come looking for him. When they did, he had one more surprise ready. Doyen's team searched the area carefully. They had learned their lesson about rushing forward. Every step was checked, every corner cleared. "Sir, I found something," a soldier called out. A storage room. Doors unlocked. Too easy, Doyen thought. But they had to check it. He signaled for 2 soldiers to go in while the rest covered them. The soldiers entered the storage room. For a moment, nothing happened. Then they saw something on the floor. A small device blinking red. "Out," one of them screamed. "It is a bomb!" They tried to run, but it was too late. The explosion tore through the storage room and the corridor beyond. 8 soldiers died instantly. The rest were thrown back by the blast. Doyen struggled to his feet, his ears ringing. His armor had saved him, but barely. Around him, his team was broken, scattered, and demoralized. "Report," he demanded. "We have 15 soldiers left," someone answered. "Many are wounded, 15 out of 50. And they still had not reached the reactor. Doyen made a decision. "Fall back. We are returning to the assault craft." "Sir, the mission is a failure," Doyen said bitterly. "Fall back. Now." The survivors retreated, carrying their wounded. Behind them, the station seemed to watch them go, silent and deadly. When they finally reached their assault craft and departed, Doyen contacted Commander Taemin. "Sir, we could not reach the reactor. The human, he is everywhere. He knows every trap, every ambush point. It is like fighting a ghost." On the bridge, Taemin listened to the report in silence. Another failure. More dead soldiers, and they were running out of time. "Admiral Korath will not accept this," Captain Jisoo said quietly. "I know," Taemin replied. He looked at the station on the display. Somewhere in there, Corporal Hyun was probably resting now, preparing for the next attack. How long could one man keep this up? When would exhaustion finally claim him? "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Admiral Korath," the communication officer announced. Taemin took a breath. "Put him through." Admiral Korath's face appeared, and he was furious. "Commander Taemin, I have been informed of another failed assault. This is unacceptable. Sir, the human defender is Mo. I do not care about excuses. You have 6 hours remaining. If you have not taken that station by then, I am ordering the entire structure destroyed. We will take the gate by force and rebuild it later. Sir, destroying the gate could take months to repair. We need it operational now." "Then take the station, Commander." Korath's voice was like thunder. "Use whatever means necessary. If that human will not surrender, then kill him. If your soldiers cannot do it, then bombard the station from orbit. I want that gate under our control in 6 hours. Am I understood?" "Yes, sir." The transmission ended. Taemin stood in the silence of his bridge. 6 hours. Either he took the station or he destroyed it. Either way, Corporal Hyun would die. "Sir, what are your orders?" Jisoo asked. Taemin thought about the human soldier. About a man who had lost his family and now fought alone to protect strangers. About someone who had turned a simple duty into a war that no one expected. "Prepare all ships for a full bombardment," Taemin said slowly. "If we cannot take the station, we will destroy it." "Yes, sir," in the command center. Hyun saw the enemy fleet powering up weapons. He knew what that meant. They were going to destroy the station. He had expected this eventually. He checked the time. The Earth fleet was still 5 hours away. He would not last that long if the Valthrak started bombarding the station, but he had bought time. Days of time. The evacuees were safe now, far away in the Kepler colonies. His mission was complete. Even if he would not survive to see it, Hyun sat down at his console one last time. He pulled up the message. Lieutenant Mira was reviewing communication logs when she found something that made her stop breathing. She read it twice, then 3 times, making sure she was not mistaken. Then she ran to find Commander Taemin. "Sir," she called out, rushing onto the bridge. "Sir, you need to see this." Taemin turned from the tactical display. His fleet was 30 seconds from firing. Lieutenant, what is it? I intercepted a message from Corporal Hyun, sir. He sent it just now. It was not directed at us, but our systems picked it up. She handed him a data pad. You should read it. Taman took the pad and read. His expression changed as he went through the message. It was addressed to the families who had evacuated through the gateway. Hyun told them they were safe now. He told them not to worry about the gate anymore. He said he had done his duty and kept his promise. He said he hoped they would be happy in their new homes. And then, at the end, he wrote about his own family. His wife who loved to paint. His daughter who wanted to be a scientist. He wrote that he would see them again soon, and that he was not afraid. It was a goodbye message. The words of a man who knew he was going to die. Taman felt something break inside his chest. This was not just a soldier following orders. This was a father who had lost everything and turned his grief into one final act of protection. Sir, Captain Jisoo said carefully, the weapons are charged. We are ready to fire on your command. Taman looked at the station on the display. One man inside. One man who had held an entire fleet for days. One man who was ready to die so that children could live in peace. Sir? Jisoo prompted. Stand down, Taman said quietly. Sir? I said stand down. Cancel the bombardment. The bridge went silent. Every officer stared at their commander. Sir Admiral Korath gave direct orders, Jisoo began. I am aware of my orders, Captain, Taman said, his voice hard. But I will not murder a man who is only protecting his people. Stand down. Jisoo looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Standing down, sir. Taman opened a communication channel. Corporal Hyun, this is Commander Taman. Please respond, static. Then Hyun's voice, tired and surprised. I am here, Commander. I saw your weapons charging. Why have you not fired? Because I read your message, Corporal. The one you sent to the evacuees. A long pause. That was not meant for you, I know. But I read it anyway, and now I understand what I am truly facing. You are not fighting because you think you can win. You are fighting because you already lost everything and this is all you have left. Does that change anything? Hyun asked bitterly. You still have your orders. I still have mine. It changes everything, Taman said. Corporal, I am a soldier. I have fought in many wars. I have killed many enemies. But I have never killed anyone like you. Someone who fights not from hate but from love. Someone who protects others even when there is no hope of survival. What are you saying, Commander? Taman took a breath. I am saying that some things are more important than orders. Some things matter more than winning. You have shown me that. I do not understand. My fleet is withdrawing, Corporal Hyun. We are leaving this sector. The gateway remains yours. The bridge exploded with voices. Officers shouting, questioning, protesting. Taman ignored them all. You cannot do this, Hyun said, his voice filled with disbelief. Your admiral will court-martial me, probably. But I am making this choice anyway. You fought with honor, human. You protected your people at the cost of everything. That deserves respect even from an enemy. Taman could hear something in the silence that followed. It might have been a breath, or maybe it was Hyun crying. When the human spoke again, his voice shook. Why? Because I have seen enough death, Taman said simply. And because if I were in your position, I would want someone to show me the same mercy. You have fought well, Corporal. You have earned your life. I do not know what to say. Say nothing. Rest. Your people are safe. You kept your promise. Taman closed the channel and turned to his crew. They were all staring at him with shock. Sir, Admiral Korath will... Jisoo started. We'll do whatever he does, Taman interrupted. But I will not have the death of Corporal Hyun on my conscience. All ships prepare to jump. We are leaving this sector. Sir, this is insubordination, the weapons officer said. We could all be punished for this. Then you have my permission to report my actions to the Admiral, Taman said. But my order stands. We leave now. For a moment no one moved. Then Jisoo stepped forward and saluted. Yes, sir. All ships prepare for jump. One by one the other officers returned to their stations. The fleet began powering down weapons and charging their jump drives. In his quarters, Taman sent a message to Admiral Korath. He explained his decision. He took full responsibility. He knew his career was over, but he felt no regret. Some things were worth more than a career. On the station, Hyun stood at his console, watching in disbelief as the Valthrak fleet prepared to leave. This was not possible. Enemies did not just leave. Battles did not end like this, but the fleet was moving away, one ship at a time, disappearing into jump space. Within an hour they were all gone. Hyun sat down heavily. His body finally gave in to exhaustion. He had not slept in 3 days. He had not eaten properly in longer. He had been running on determination alone. And now it was over. He pulled up the display showing the locations of the evacuated families. They were safe. All of them. They had reached the Kepler colonies and were beginning new lives. Hyun felt tears on his face. He did not try to stop them. "I did it," he whispered to the empty command center. "I kept them safe." He thought about his wife and daughter. They would have been proud of him. Maybe in whatever place they had gone, they knew what he had done. A signal appeared on his console. The Earth fleet was 4 hours away now. They would arrive to find the station intact and the enemy gone. Hyun wanted to stay awake to meet them. He wanted to make his report, but his body had other ideas. He slumped in his chair, and sleep took him immediately. When the Earth fleet arrived 4 hours later, Admiral Sunwoo led a boarding party to the station. They found it damaged but operational. Defense platforms were burned out. Corridors showed signs of combat. It looked like a war zone. They found Corporal Hyun in the command center asleep at his post. Admiral Sunwoo approached carefully. She saw the exhaustion on the man's face, the wounds on his arms, the dried blood on his uniform. She saw the console displays showing all the defensive systems he had used. "Corporal," she said gently, shaking his shoulder. "Corporal Hyun." Hyun woke with a start, reaching for his rifle. Then he saw the Earth military uniform and relaxed. "Admiral," he said, trying to stand. His legs gave out and Sunwoo caught him. "Easy, soldier. You are safe now. We are here. The gate," Hyun said urgently. Did I hold it long enough?" "Yes, Corporal. You held it. The evacuees are safe. The enemy is gone. You succeeded." Hyun nodded slowly. Then he passed out again, this time from relief. Admiral Sunwoo called for medics. As they carried Hyun away, she stayed behind to review the station logs. What she saw made her call her senior officers immediately. "Everyone needs to see this," she said. They watched the recordings of the battle. One man against an entire fleet. They saw the traps, the ambushes, the impossible defensive actions. They saw Hyun running through the station, barely able to stand, still fighting. They also saw the messages between Hyun and Commander Taemin. They saw the Valthrak fleet preparing to destroy the station, and they saw the moment when Taemin chose mercy over orders. "This is incredible," one officer said. "This is the most amazing defensive action I have ever seen." "This needs to be recorded," another said. "People need to know what happened here." Admiral Sunwoo agreed. But first she went to the medical bay to check on Hyun. He was sleeping in a bed hooked to medical equipment. The doctors said he would recover, but he needed rest and care. She sat beside his bed and waited for him to wake. When he finally did, she smiled at him. "How do you feel, Corporal?" "Like I got hit by a ship," Hyun said, his voice rough. "You held Gateway Station Alpha 7 against a Valthrak fleet for 72 hours. Alone. That is going to become a legend." "Corporal, I was just doing my job, ma'am." "No, you did far more than that." Sunwoo leaned forward. "The evacuees are safe. All of them. Thanks to you, hundreds of families are alive and well in the Kepler colonies. Children are playing. Parents are working. They have futures because of what you did." Hyun closed his eyes. "That was all I wanted. I know. And you should also know that the Valthrak commander who withdrew his fleet, he is being court-martialed by his superiors. But many in the Valthrak military are calling him a hero. They say he showed true honor. He could have destroyed the station," Hyun said. "He chose not to. That took courage. So did staying behind when everyone else left." Sunwoo stood up. "Rest now, Corporal. When you recover, there will be ceremonies and medals. But for now, just rest. You have earned it." As she left, Hyun looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Commander Taemin was facing punishment for showing mercy. Somewhere out there, families were starting new lives because one soldier refused to abandon his post. And somewhere, in whatever place the dead go, maybe his wife and daughter were smiling. Hyun closed his eyes and slept peacefully for the first time in years. 6 months had passed since the siege of Gateway Station Alpha 7. The station had been repaired and was now fully operational again, but it looked different now. New defense platforms surrounded it. A full crew of 300 worked there, and on the main hull, painted in letters 10 meters high, was its new name, Hyun's Gate. Corporal Hyun, now Sergeant Hyun, stood in the command center looking at the same displays he had used during the siege. But this time he was not alone. Around him, young soldiers trained on the various systems, learning how to defend the station properly. "Sergeant," a young woman called out. Her name was Unji, and she was one of the new recruits. "Can you tell us again how you managed the defense platforms during the battle?" Hyun smiled slightly. They always wanted to hear the stories. At first, he had not wanted to talk about it. The memories were too fresh, too painful. But Admiral Sunwoo had convinced him that teaching others was important. His experience could save lives in the future. "The key is knowing your station completely," Hyun said, walking to the tactical display. "Every system, every backup, every possible use for each piece of equipment. When you're outnumbered, knowledge is your best weapon." He showed them the patrol routes he had used, running from one section to another. He showed them how he had used the life support systems as weapons, how he had turned simple maintenance tools into traps. The young soldiers listened carefully, taking notes. They looked at him with respect, maybe even awe. Hyun found that uncomfortable. He did not think of himself as a hero. He had just done what needed to be done. "But Sergeant," another recruit asked, "how did you keep going? You were alone for so long, facing so many enemies. Were you not afraid?" Hyun was quiet for a moment. "I was terrified," he admitted. "Every moment. But fear is not the enemy. Giving up is the enemy. As long as you can still fight, as long as you can still protect what matters, you keep going. Even if you know you cannot win. Especially then," Hyun said. "Sometimes winning is not the point. Sometimes you fight just to buy time, to give others a chance. That is what soldiers do. We stand in the way of harm, even when it costs everything." The recruits nodded, understanding in their eyes. After the training session, Hyun went to his quarters. They were simple but comfortable. On his desk sat a collection of letters. Families from the Kepler colonies had sent them. Parents thanking him for protecting their children. Kids drawing pictures of the station. Old people writing about starting new lives. He read them all. Every single one. It helped to know that his sacrifice had meant something. That people were alive and happy because he had held the gate. There was a knock on his door. "Come in," Hyun called. Admiral Sunwoo entered. She had visited the station many times since the siege, checking on repairs and meeting with the crew. But Hyun suspected this visit was different. "Sergeant Hyun," she said, "I have news you should hear." "What kind of news, Admiral?" "It concerns Commander Taemin, the Valthrak officer who withdrew his fleet." Hyun sat up straighter. He thought about Taemin often. The enemy commander who had chosen mercy over victory. What happened to him? "He was court-martialed, as expected," Sunwoo said. "Charged with disobeying direct orders and failing to complete his mission. He lost his rank and his command." Hyun felt a pang of sadness. The man had spared his life, and it had cost him everything. "But," Sunwoo continued, "something interesting has happened. Many Valthrak officers spoke in his defense at the trial. They said he showed true honor. They said he made the right choice, even if it was not the strategic choice. The trial became famous across Valthrak space, and now there is a movement in their military. Officers calling for changes in how they conduct war, calling for more honor, more mercy. They are using Taemin as an example. He may have lost his rank, but he gained something more important. Respect." Hyun nodded slowly. "He was a good soldier, a good enemy." "There is more," Sunwoo said. "Taemin sent you a message. It came through diplomatic channels. Would you like to hear it?" "Yes." Sunwoo pulled out a datapad and played the recording. Taemin's voice filled the room, speaking in careful English. "Corporal Hyun, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted you to know that I do not regret my decision to withdraw. Some called it cowardice. I call it recognizing true courage when I see it. You fought not from hate but from love. That is the hardest kind of fighting. I hope you have found peace. Perhaps one day, when there is no more war between our people, we could meet as soldiers who respect each other. Until then, know that you changed me. You showed me that honor matters more than victory. Thank you for that lesson. Commander Taemin." The message ended. Hyun sat in silence for a moment, processing the words. "That is remarkable," Sunwoo said. "An enemy sending a message of respect." "He was more than an enemy," Hyun said quietly. "He was someone who understood duty and sacrifice, someone who made the hard choice." Sunwoo stood to leave, then paused. "Oh, there is one more thing. The ceremony is tomorrow. You have not forgotten?" "No, Admiral. I will be there." The next day, the main conference hall of the station was filled with people. Officers, soldiers, civilians, even some diplomats. They had all come for the ceremony honoring Corporal Hyun's defense of the station. Hyun stood uncomfortably in his dress uniform. He did not like ceremonies or attention. But Sunwoo had insisted this was important. People needed symbols, she said. They needed heroes. Admiral Sunwoo stood at the podium. We are here today to honor an act of extraordinary courage. Sergeant Hyun stayed behind when everyone else evacuated. He faced an entire enemy fleet alone. For 72 hours he held this station, protecting the lives of thousands of people he would never meet. His actions went beyond duty. They were an act of pure selflessness. She called Hyun forward. He walked to the podium, feeling the eyes of everyone on him. Sergeant Hyun, Sunwoo said formally, by the authority of Earth Command, I award you the Stellar Cross for exceptional valor in combat. Your name will be remembered as long as humanity travels the stars. She pinned the medal to his uniform. The room erupted in applause. Hyun stood there not knowing what to do or say. Sunwoo leaned close and whispered, You should say something. Hyun stepped to the podium. The room grew quiet. He looked at all the faces watching him. Young soldiers, old veterans, people whose lives he had protected without knowing them. I am not good with speeches, he began. I am a soldier. I do my job. But I want to say something about that job. People think soldiers fight for glory or honor or country. Sometimes we do, but mostly we fight for the person next to us, for the people who cannot fight for themselves, for the families who need protection. He paused, gathering his thoughts. When I stayed behind at this station, I was not thinking about being a hero. I was thinking about my wife and daughter, who died in a war they did not start. I was thinking about all the families evacuating through this gate, running from the same kind of death. I could not save my family, but I could save theirs. That was enough. He looked around the room. Every person in this room has the ability to make that choice, to stand between harm and the innocent, to protect others even when it costs you everything. That is what makes us human. Not our weapons or ships or technology. Our willingness to sacrifice for each other. Remember that, and no enemy can ever truly defeat us. The room was silent for a moment. Then someone started clapping. Others joined. Soon the entire hall was standing, applauding. Hyun stepped back from the podium, his face red. He had not meant to make such a speech, but the words had needed to be said. After the ceremony, Hyun walked through the station. People kept stopping him to shake his hand, to thank him. It was overwhelming. He finally found a quiet observation room and sat by the window. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Commander Taemin was starting a new life after losing his rank. Somewhere out there, the families from the Kepler colonies were building homes and raising children. Somewhere out there, his wife and daughter rested in peace. The door opened. Yoonji, the young recruit from earlier, stepped in hesitantly. Sergeant? Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to say, your speech really meant something to me. I joined the military because I wanted to be like you. Someone who protects others, Hyun smiled at her. Then be better than me. Learn from my mistakes. Be smarter, faster, stronger. And remember, the best battle is the one you never have to fight. Use your mind before your weapons. Yes, Sergeant, I will. After she left, Hyun returned to watching the stars. The station hummed around him, alive with crew members doing their jobs. The gate was open now, allowing ships to pass safely. Trade continued. Life continued, and that was worth everything. Months turned to years. The story of Hyun's stand became famous throughout human space. Children learned about it in school. Military academies studied his tactics. The phrase holding the gate became synonymous with impossible defense. But more importantly, the story reached beyond human space. The Valthrak Empire heard it. Other alien species heard it. They learned that humans, when pushed to the edge, would fight with everything they had to protect their own. It changed negotiations. It changed wars. It changed how other species saw humanity. One person, standing alone at a gate, had altered the course of history. Years later, an old Hyun sat in the same observation room.